Want me to just go through my budget? Is that the other?
Yeah, you know what we did was we had a presentation by Sean last week of the tentative budget. So now we're giving the departments the opportunity to
Justify.
express any concerns that they have, with any cuts that they might have received from the tentative budget, so that we can pass it on to the full board.
Okay.
All right? So the floor is yours.
He didn't cut me too much. He cut me about $1,900 in my appropriations. But he also cut out the position that I asked for. I had asked for reinstatement of my prototypist, but I lost that in 2011. In 2011, I lost a probation officer and an account clerk typist. And I'm asking for a clerk typist to pick up the slack that we've had a lot more duties to perform in those last 3 years, so I was asking for a clerk typist to help us with that. Sean took that out of here. The other cuts were not tremendous. He cut a line item for equipment, that was computer equipment, $400 there. That's 2259. Some of my computers are getting old. I think my oldest, I have a couple that were like 2004s. I'm trying to anticipate that they're going to die, so.
Let me ask you this before we go any further, because it's been asked before. Was any of this equipment in data processing equipment that, because his computer equipment got caught. Was any of your equipment in that?
Yes, my server. I've got a very old server. And
So the server was in there, but this is separate?
Yeah, this is separate.
Okay.
Yeah. My server got cut. We're worried about it, that if it crashes, I'm going to lose everything. Everything in probation is done on computer. We have a very complicated data system that we pay a maintenance fee on every year. It's over $6,000 now. If that went, we couldn't do business.
It's not backed up anywhere, is it?
Well, it's backed up. What we have is backed up, but we couldn't go forward. We work with a company called Automon. They're out of Phoenix, Arizona, and everything that we do goes into the computer. The data is maintained at the state as well. We couldn't go forward without.
Is that why you have your own server?
Yes. Yeah, we have to. And the other part of it is everything we do is confidential. We have access to e-justice. Actually, the sheriff does also. All of the criminal history on everybody that we deal with is in that. It can't be. It's a confidential stream of information that comes to us. So that server is very important.
Okay.
The other item he cut $1,000 out of line item 4422, equipment rental, lease, and repair. We have a leased car, and in 2014 that lease is up. It's been 3 years. The payment for the lease is going up a little bit next year from $314 a month to $343 a month. We also have to pay a delivery fee on the newer car, on the next car, of $430. In addition to that, we've got a few little repairs that have to be done on the car that we're turning in because people have keyed it and it's gotten crunched a couple of times. And that's going to, the car repairs, we've gotten an estimate of $1,497. So just those little increases has put that line item up a little bit. Sean took $1,000 out of that. The other thing he took out, I believe, was from line item 4441. That's gas, oil. That's for the county car. We have 2 county cars. We have a van as well that we use for community service for our juveniles. So that's that line item. The rest of it is basically the same as last year. Our revenues. Our restitution revenue is going up. We started charging people who commit crimes and have to pay restitution to their victims. We were charging 5% surcharge on that to take the money in and disperse it. We increased that to 10% a couple of years ago. We couldn't do it on the people that were already paying, but we did it on all of the new cases coming in. So that revenue line is going up a little bit. Probation fees went down about $4,000. when we moved from Centro Civico, where we had a satellite office, to the police department, when we were at Centro Civico, parole was using that office as well, and we were charging them a fee. So we lost that when we moved, so that's why that went down. Other than that, the revenue is about the same.
Back to the car.
Back to the car.
So, you know, I mean, obviously, but most likely the computer equipment, that was an estimate. But on the car, are you saying you can't live with that change?
Well, I'm saying what our expenses are gonna be for that car. You know, we've gotta pay for the repairs on the car we're turning in, and the fee is going up for the car that we're gonna get next year. So,
Lease fee.
we've got to pay delivery fee and the monthly lease fee is going up.
Okay. Anyone else have any questions? Yeah, Bill.
I'm gonna continue on the same track. So, by Sean cutting that amount from the 8158, what's that mean to you? What are you losing?
Well, it means that I'm gonna have to get money from somewhere else, maybe, hopefully, I had extra money somewhere else to transfer in by the end of the year. I don't know, sometimes there's money left over, sometimes there isn't, depends on how it goes. I mean, it's, you know, if somebody should retire, you know, it takes me a while to hire somebody new, there's a little extra money there.
So it's not like earth shattering?
Well, it's $1,000, you know, I can probably find it right now.
Thank you, Jim.
Okay. Anyone else have any questions? No? If not, thank you.
Thank you.
Good job.
Good job, Lucille.
What?
I have a general question.
Oh,
We have a meeting here at 4 o'clock on Monday. What is the format?
well, hopefully, I'll write up something that I can place in front of everyone.
Should
And,
we write something up?
well, we can sit around the next several nights and we can all write one up. I don't know how else to do it. It's not a cut and add, it's more of a general concept.
If you're to make recommendations to the full board, how can you make recommendations to the full board if you don't offer suggestion, like I want to do an office for the aging?
I wish I could show you the whole report. I mean,
Well, I'm
we did-
going by English language. It says to me that I make a recommendation. If I make a recommendation on something, it's something that I'm making a recommendation on.
well,
Say, I feel that this should be X, should be Y.
Okay.
Or should I just sit here? I mean,
I'm
what
only
are we doing?
placing in front of you a template. And then as a body, we can change it any way you like. I'm not sure of any other way that we can do it, other than in some general, unless you want to go line by line and.
I'm not saying I want to go line by line, but everybody's heard that appeared at these meetings what the department head said. I'm sure she's just made a comment of what she needs. You might want to say, well, I agree with this, I don't agree with that. I think we're talking about Sean's budget. And he may have no items, he may have 5, I may have 6. And then isn't that what we want to do, is make a recommendation to the board, and they can say, we're throwing it in a waste paper basket, or we're going to change it. Isn't that what we should be doing?
Yeah, Bill?
This is kind of an unusual year, I think, because usually when we get this budget, it's like this, you know, it's got everybody's wish list. This year it was a very slim budget.
Yeah, I think so too.
So what I was thinking of is some of these department heads made good arguments on things that they wanted back in. Those are things we probably should look at. Things like the engineering and the planning, you know, the ideas we were floating around, that's something that has to come after whatever this committee does, I would think.
Yeah, I'm
You
just
should
thinking.
put up a resolution, like a separate, a resolution
I think
amending
put it
the
up when
budget.
you're going to pass the budget.
But our recommendations should maybe say, well, you know, the sheriff deserves another car, or you should have that other employee that he has and go through, and what you do recommend and what you don't recommend. And I think it's been a great budget. I think it's gonna be easy to come out of this.
Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking that it's more of just items, that we believe that these things should be added in or increased. So here we got several things. These are things we think should be cut out, or, you know what I mean? So we have just paragraphs, and then we add to it. I've got to give you some template, or else we're going to be sitting here just arguing over line items, which will be, the concept will be argued before. Sean's recommendation was, if you made any cuts, that you should reduce the amount of fund balance. Does the board agree, the finance committee agree, or do they disagree? Those are the types of things that we need to express to the board, not the individual line items, I don't believe. I think it's more conceptual.
And the revenues. I mean, it's not so much like by department, but like in Sean's budget. The sales tax, do you think that's gonna be tweaked, or we're gonna leave it alone? Do we recommend that it be raised? Do we recommend it be lowered?
Yes, if we're recommending that it should be raised, then what do we use as a basis for our recommendation? So those are the things that we're trying to put together, because we're going to rehash it all again.
Another thing too, Dominic, I mean, you just gave us a budget for the health insurance, what, for 5,700,000, and 6.2 was in the budget, so there you're talking 500,000.
Yeah, we might be, we have a caption on health insurance, that the board needs to reevaluate the health insurance or
Do you want
something.
to depend 100% on that budget that he just gave us, or do you want,
Well, no, if you had that cushion, if you knew what that amount was, which I'm sure we can
yeah.
come to, we could decide what things may or may not go back in as well, what the recommendations would be.
Yeah. Well, it's an experiment, Michael. We throw it out on Monday, and if it flies, it flies. If it doesn't fly, it doesn't fly.
I have to say, this has really been the best budget year I can remember. Everybody's finally getting the point. And it's been easy to go through this task without having to draw blood.
Yeah. Right?
I mean, we're yelling at DSS because they give back a little money at the end of the year. If I give back all of it, they didn't spend their appropriations, but really, they have to make their best guess. And
That's right.
I'd rather have them be a shade high than too low, especially when they don't have much of a fund balance.
But see, the thing is, what you can do is, and you satisfy everybody. You satisfy the, let's say, like state controller's office, because let's say in 2000, which is like this year, I think we've appropriated 1.9 million in fund balance. And of course, and social services said, they gave back 2.4 million. If you were to cut 1.9 million out of those, here, listen, if you were to cut 1.9 million out of social services budget, all right, you wouldn't have appropriated any fund balance. You would have satisfied the state controller's office. And then the thing was that if the expenses do come in, then 62 or 75% of it is really state and federal monies. 25% of it is local. So what impact did it really have on you? So we could have budgeted differently and satisfied everybody. Not lower taxes necessarily.
Well, that's my point. You also have the last page, which gives the taxes. I do feel they are a major concern here in Montgomery County. I think you've got to look at that when you're doing a budget. They pay the bills. We also pay when we own property, but you got to look at that. There's many people that went up. You went up, when you look at your assessments, considerably.
We always go up.
Right. I think the people are fed up. And the point is, that is an important page. You may disregard it, and you're talking fund balance, but if you got 50 bucks in the bank, and you give somebody tax relief, or give somebody a meal, then I think it's an obligation here to do that. And that's the way I feel. I'm probably alone in that, but that's the way I feel, and you won't have to put up with me anymore after December.
You and me both.
So that's my own opinion. I express my opinions, and I'm not afraid to do that.
No, then it comes up to the, answer the question that the state controller's
I
office.
could care about the state, I could care about those people out there.
We all.
They sit in ivory towers, when they always did that in the assessments, they would come through with 500 different laws and regulation, not considering the guy out there. Because that's what they do, that's how they justify a lot of, not everybody, that's how they justify their pay.
I agree with you, Mike. I don't think the controller's office is ever gonna, I mean,
I
bodies
had
of
people
governments
sit-
are gonna spend the fund balance
I
anyway
had
they
people
see fit.
sit with me,
Right.
telling me about the taxes, and I says, would you pay, where do you live? They talked to me, and I says, okay, if you were in Amsterdam, you have to pay like, some of these would have been like $10,000 a year in taxes. And they looked at me and they said, we'd never pay that. I says, but you're in here dictating to us how we should bury the taxpayer here. And that's what you got. They read it out of a book. I'm aggravated with it.
But taxes are
It's called
cumulative.
home rule.
Well, taxes are cumulative.
They are
It's
cumulative.
county.
But there becomes a matter, when you look at statistics in Montgomery County and Fulton County, et cetera, that we are overtaxed.
Well, then,
It's like that health insurance sheet tonight with the two little things on the end of it.
Right.
5 years from now,
It'll
this
be-
will be this
it'll
long,
be
it'll
that
look like our
long.
telephone bill.
Well,
There'll be all kinds of taxes on there.
it comes down that you have to work out in the next, in the 90-day period, a corrective action plan, which says to them, and they may have a valid point, that if I've got $5,000 in my savings account, and I have to use every year $1,000 of my savings account to pay my bills, at some point, I'm going to be short.
It also says something, that maybe we're not running the government the way we should. Things
Okay,
should
now that
change.
goes to the other side of it. And if you've got to do one of two things. You have to increase revenues or decrease expenses. It comes down, it's very simple.
Very simple.
The thought is the concept's very simple. Except when you go to increase a line item, that increase in the line item has to come from somewhere.
Well, I suggested here a long time ago, and my friend Mike McKinney did in the 80s, that you get these counties together, put up a few dollars out of your fund balance and sue the state on the mandates, once and for all. We sit here, we talk about it, and they just shove it to you. But a combined effort would get something done.
Have you seen any municipality?
Well,
do
you
that?
know what, then maybe we don't know how to, we didn't not good people to be able to sell an idea.
Well, you know, the thing was, you gotta have money to sue the state.
I just said how you can accumulate stuff. It's a combined
Get
lawsuit.
a few more counties and we'll want to. Motion to adjourn?
You got it.
Second? All in
Yeah.
favor? Aye?
Aye.